This is Ken Carpenter welcoming you to the Bing Crosby Show, transcribed from Hollywood.
Moonlight becomes you. It goes with your hair. You certainly know the right thing to wear.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bing Crosby. Well, here's a little song we got here. I recently recorded from Decca. It has rather a colorful history. It's an Hawaiian song, but it was written in Germany, first recorded in Germany, too, and a very good record it was. And the Decca people particularly heard it, and they had an American lyric, an English lyric written by Johnny Bond for the song. It's called Jim, Johnny, and Old Jonas.
One night, while the full moon was shining so bright, there was hardly one star. I strolled on a beach in Hawaii and thrilled to a distant guitar. And there in the moonlight they wandered, three maids by the water so blue, and the sweet melody they kept singing. Now just listen, I'll sing it to you. Jim, Johnny, and Jonas, we miss you since you sailed away. Each moment without you gets longer and longer each day. Come back to Hawaii, back to your darling so true. Jim, Johnny, and Jonas, we're waiting, just waiting for you. Back to your darling so true. Jim, Johnny, and Jonas, we're waiting, just waiting for you. We're waiting, just waiting for you.
Tonight, I'd like to gab a little, if you'll endure me. I'd like to gab about a little used word, the word impeach, which is to charge a public official before an authorized tribunal with misbehavior in office. Of all the 33 presidents in the history of the United States, Andrew Johnson is unique in that he is the only United States president to be impeached. It was just 87 years ago this week, it was on May 16th, 1868, that the United States Senate decided by just one vote that he was not guilty. The process of impeachment is not too well understood by many people. I guess that's understandable since it's not very common. In the history of the United States, only 12 impeachments have been brought by the federal government, and most of these were against judges. Of the 12 impeachments, only 4 were found guilty, and they were all judges. The main thing to understand is that the man who is impeached is not thereby guilty. To impeach means to bring charges against. In the case of a federal officer or a judge, the House of Representatives acts as a grand jury, and if the evidence warrants it, they vote an impeachment. Well, then the case goes to the Senate, and the senators act as a trial jury, and they decide whether or not the accused is guilty. In the case of President Andrew Johnson, the verdict was not guilty. But to understand the impeachment and the verdict, we have to go back, and we have to understand how Andrew Johnson became president. Actually, it's pretty amazing that this Democrat from a Confederate state was elected vice president of the United States on the Republican ticket during the Civil War. Pretty fantastic. You see, President Johnson inherited most of his quarrels with Congress from his predecessor, Abraham Lincoln. It's been more or less forgotten with the passing years, but Lincoln had some real bitter quarrels with Congress. In fact, in the congressional election of 1862, the Democrats won so many seats in Congress that chances for Lincoln's re-election looked pretty dim. The Republicans were so concerned over the political outlook that they generally dropped their name, and instead they called themselves the Union Party. And to conciliate the Democrats, they nominated Andrew Johnson for the vice presidency. Johnson was a staunch Democrat, but he had proven his loyalty to the Union. Even though he was a slaveholder himself in his home state of Tennessee, Johnson refused to go along with his state when it seceded. He proved his courage when he returned to his state in 1861, and he worked in behalf of the Union at the risk of his life. In 1862, he became military governor of Tennessee and was organizing a Union government there when he was called to run for vice president. The combination of Lincoln and Johnson proved a powerful one at the ballot box, and they were elected, winning all but 3 states. When the Confederate states were occupied by Union troops, members of Congress began to quarrel with President Lincoln over his conciliatory treatment of them. Lincoln was attacked in speeches all over the country, and even by members of his own cabinet. And when Lincoln was assassinated, the burden of the presidency passed to Johnson, and with it went all this angry criticism that had been directed at Lincoln. There were many differences between Congress and President Johnson, but the straw that broke the camel's back was when Johnson removed Stanton as Secretary of War. Stanton was one of Johnson's most outspoken critics, and his friends in Congress feared that the president might dismiss him. So to prevent this, they passed the Tenure of Office Act in 1867. This act forbade the president dismissing any officer without the consent of the Senate. President Johnson's Attorney General advised him that the act was unconstitutional, so he fired Stanton anyway, and in February 1868, the House of Representatives, for the first and the only time in American history, voted to impeach the president. There were a number of charges brought against the president, but the chief one was his dismissal of Stanton. The trial went to the Senate with Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase presiding, and it lasted for over 3.5 months. It was generally believed at the time that President Johnson would be found guilty since feeling against him was high. But a couple of things acted in his favor. First, there was the fear that Senator Wade, the president of the Senate, would succeed to the presidency. And Wade was even more unpopular than Johnson, if that was possible. And secondly, to replace Stanton as Secretary of War, President Johnson appointed General Schofield, a man who was as popular as the president was unpopular. Well, these events turned the tide, and on the final vote on May 16, 1868, President Andrew Johnson was acquitted. The vote was 35 guilty to 19 not guilty, but a 2/3 majority was necessary, so the result was acquittal. To show how keen the feeling was, 7 Republican senators had the courage to vote not guilty. In so doing, they all sacrificed their political careers, for not one of the 7 was ever re-elected again. That year, Andrew Johnson campaigned for the presidency on the Democratic ticket, but he lost out at the convention. He did, however, win public vindication 7 years later when he was elected to the United States Senate, but his triumph was short-lived, for he died after serving only 6 months. Well, those were turbulent times back then, but I guess every age is a turbulent time for the people living in it. Certainly hope these remarks don't inspire a wave of impeachments, and also that no charges will be instituted against me for the following interlude of song. Like almost everybody else, I have a tough time passing those attractive color travel posters that you see around these days. I find myself lingering in front of them and wondering if the chestnut trees are in blossom in Paris, thinking of the incredible deep blue of the broad Mediterranean, Majorca, and all those other faraway places. George, I must get my passport renewed.
away over the sea. Those faraway places with the strange sounding names are calling, calling me. Going to China or maybe Siam. I want to see for myself those faraway places I've been reading about in a book that I took from the shelf. I start getting restless whenever I hear the whistle of a train. I pray for the day I can get underway and look for those castles in Spain. They call me a dreamer. Well, maybe I am, but I know that I'm burning to see those faraway places with the strange sounding names calling me. I pray for the day when I'll find a way those faraway places to see. Those faraway places with the strange sounding names calling me.
Cerebral palsy. Those are words which once meant utter despair for parents. Through research, much has been done to solve the mystery of the causes of this crippler. In addition, skilled treatment has been made available to many of the cerebral palsy. You can help ensure continual success by sending a contribution to carry on this work. Please send your gift to Cerebral Palsy, care of your local postmaster. Well, we'll be back tomorrow evening, friends. Buddy's group and me with some songs and some talk. Will you kind of arrange to cut in?
This is Ken Carpenter saying goodnight to you all and reminding you that Bing Crosby can be heard Monday through Friday with Buddy Cole and his music. The Bing Crosby Show is produced and transcribed in Hollywood by Bill Morrow and Murdo McKenzie.